Alright, so it looks like we have SilverName's Token Druid versus JustSaiyan's Aggro Shaman. I apologize for my quietness there, guys. Just had a technical issue to sort out. And looking at the stats, JustSaiyan doesn't actually have that much he can do just yet. He's going to have the Flamewreath Faceless on 4 or on 3 with the coin. He's going to have the Doomhammer on 5 if he's not overloaded, but until then, he just has to sit behind an Argent Squire. Meanwhile, SilverName is able to innovate out of Violet Teacher or Fandral if he wants to, and then just kind of go wild from there. It'll be interesting to see if he does decide to innovate out Violet Teacher. He might even decide to just Wrath or Hero Power here, but I think playing the bigger minion makes a lot of sense. And without the coin, it looks like JustSaiyan won't actually be able to deal with anything that that SilverName plays. And if JustSaiyan is to coin out a Lava Burst here, then he's really limiting himself over the next few turns. Alright, so JustSaiyan did decide that Fandral warrants dealing with. He did play the coin Lava Burst, and unfortunately for Saiyan, he can't even play that Totem Golem that's sitting in his hand now. He can play the Abusive Sergeant though, which actually isn't so bad. He's able to push an extra 3 damage to face, and then next turn he can curve into Flamewreath Faceless, followed by Totem Golem plus Lava Burst, which seems like a pretty okay position to be in. SilverName, however, really making use of Moonfire there with Violet Teacher. It summons a totem. It's like he's just played a token. It's like he's just played a smaller Living Roots. But it got the job done. And actually, unless JustSaiyan plays Argent Horse Rider plus Lightning Bolt, he's not going to be able to deal with that Violet Teacher. And that is the play he decides to play. It looks like JustSaiyan is a big fan of playing very defensively right now. And who can blame him? Suddenly that mulch is looking very, very good for SilverName, despite Saiyan's efforts. Despite Saiyan's efforts to put a stop to everything SilverName's playing. With mulch, SilverName is still able to deal with that Flamewreath Faceless. Thanks to the mulch, leaving JustSaiyan overloaded, unable to play Doomhammer. Though he can play both Totem Golems, which is still a brutal play, even on turn 8 against a Druid. Those two, or even when the opponent, the Druid, has 8 mana, I should say, those Totem Golems are going to put up a sufficient threat. Oh my goodness. Wrath into Wrath. Okay, that's very helpful for SilverName. He's not quite able to play the Arcane Giant this turn, but he is able to play Power of the World to buff up his minions, getting the trade off of the Totem Golem. And even hitting the face for a little bit of damage. He has definitely stabilized against Saiyan's aggressive deck. It'll be interesting to see if Saiyan can find use of that Cobalt for the extra 2 spell damage, and if it potentially could be the difference between dealing with a minion or even dealing enough damage to the face to win the game. Alright, so the Arcane Giant comes out, the 4 mana 8/8 at this stage in the game. And you know what? That is actually difficult for JustSaiyan to deal with. It doesn't really matter what comes out of this Tuskar Totemic. He's not going to be able to deal with the Arcane Giant this turn, which means thanks to Swipe, Moonfire, Living Roots, whatever SilverName wants to play, that Taunt Totem is going down and that Giant is going face next turn. And that is definitely gonna be game. SilverName thought there was a technical disaster. It was fine. Nobody panic. We now have Dragon Warrior. It looks like Dragon Warrior anyway from Saiyan versus SilverName's Druid that we've already seen. Malygos in the opening hand is not necessarily what SilverName wants. However, if he does make it to turn 9, it may just end up being a tempo play. Alright, so Alex Jazza Champion comes down. It's what pretty much every Hearthstone player that's been playing within the last couple of months has learned to fear from a warrior. Thankfully for SilverName, he has the answer for it as the Wrath comes down, but he's still behind on the board. JustSaiyan is able to play a Tempo Frothing Berserker, which doesn't look like SilverName is able to do it easily. Yes, he can coin out the Swipe. He can Living Roots it to make it weaker, but looks like he's going to rely on a Raven Idol. He's not got the Innovate, which it looks like is what he was hoping for. He did then, for a second, I don't know if you caught that, he did hover over the Swipe. He may go for the Wild Growth now to try and ramp up and race the warrior in mana. He may decide that if he can ramp up soon enough, he'll be able to get his spells that can deal with the warrior's tempo threats, which otherwise he wouldn't have been able to play early. And that's what he decides to go for. Now next turn, with Swipe, he will be able to deal with a Frothing Berserker. He can play Living Roots as well, although it doesn't do all that much right now, and he is really weak to the Ravaging Ghoul. Oh, wow, okay, so the Azure Drake comes down. That is very brave, as that Frothing Berserker could come out of control, but getting the Innovate out of it definitely seems like a pretty good solution. SilverName can now play both Swipes in one turn, if he feels like it. And it looks like, thanks to Saiyan trading in the minion with 6 health, a double swipe would almost deal with the board. This Quickoraw lead is coming down now, probably, which the double swipe would not quite deal with. But still, dealing with everything else seems fine. 3 swipes! Alternatively, SilverName could also just play the living roots, which would then deal with everything with the coin hero power. I hadn't seen that before. SilverName was actually able to completely clear this board. And you now if SilverName can stabilize, get that Malygos down, maybe even next turn if he's not too afraid of execute, then he could actually just take this game away. As we can see at the moment, Saiyan doesn't actually have an execute in his hand. So he would have difficulty clearing that Malygos if it were to come down next turn on turn 7. But Saiyan is still making it difficult, even for SilverName to play that Malygos, as there is now lethal on board, and Malygos is far too slow a card to be played right now. I assume SilverName will start with the Raven Idol. Okay, so SilverName has now used 3 swipes. JustSaiyan is probably wondering how many of those SilverName is going to pull out. But regardless, we have Grommash coming down next turn. That is going to be 5 damage, including JustSaiyan's weapon. SilverName is really going to have to pull something out of the bag here to prevent himself from losing next turn. That's not quite going to do it. No matter what happens now, Grommash is coming down next turn. Fairy Dragon is going to finish the job. And JustSaiyan is taking his first game of the series, putting the game at 1-1. Alright, so this is a really strong hand from SilverName, actually. Zoo, of course, is going to be one of these decks that is capable of winning against the Dragon Warrior. And Possessed Villager into Possessed Villager into Possessed Villager again with maybe Abusive Sergeant or Voidwalker is a very strong start from the Zoo. SilverName is kind of able to be mana efficient here. I mean, at the end of the day, he's really, really dominating this board here. I mean, if JustSaiyan had a Ravaging Ghoul, then maybe SilverName would be in a little bit of a worse position, but it doesn't look like we're going to see Ravaging Ghoul anytime soon. I don't think we even saw it last game. So, SilverName is safe to continue putting these 1 health minions down. In fact, it doesn't even matter anymore. By playing Dark Iron Dwarf there and continuing to smack the face with his other minions, he's not even that weak to Ravaging Ghoul anymore. And Saiyan doesn't have much he can do here. He can coin out an Azurdrake, he could play Frothing Berserker plus Blood to Ica, or he could play Quickoraw Elite, but nothing he can do really has much of an effect on the board. Quickoraw Elite would just trade with a Taunt, and then SilverName would clean it up with his weaker minions. Looks like that's what's happening. Count Summon seems like a very good draw there. Maybe right now SilverName would prefer this to be Imp Gang Boss, although it seems not, as he's going to make that Count Summon as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. Next turn, we may even see a Leroy Jenkins, although without it being lethal, it's probably too early for SilverName to put that down. We've got two of the minions on the board that just like to build up their attack as much as possible, as quickly as possible, both in the form of Frothing Berserker and Counterman. But of course, as we've just seen, the Frothing Berserker did not last very long, and I can't see that Counterman going anywhere except the face. Oh no, he is trading it. Okay. Doing what Zoo does best. Establishing complete board control. Unless JustSaiyan had 2 Ravagingles now, there wasn't much he could do about this board, and it looks like it's going to just continue to spiral out of control for SilverName. We're going to see a tap and an Imp Gang Boss, probably. Or me. Oh, no. With that, it's going to be Defender of Argus. We may see the Flame Imp Argus up so that it could trade with the Savage, with the Fierce Monkey. And then Dark Iron Dwarf going into Frothing Berserker with the more valuable minions going face. That seems pretty strong. Unless he's hoping that his knife can do good. That's not exactly where he was hoping it would go. Not that it mattered. This actually ended up being a much stronger play, as he's keeping the 2 valuable minions on the board and giving them some more health and taunt. It looks like this game is very over, as one aggressive deck was able to completely destroy the other. Players using their full amount of time to mulligan there. And look at this hand from SilverName. It's absolutely disgusting. We're seeing that Saiyan's Druid is also Beast Druid. Tempostorm really giving that deck a proper try. But SilverName's hand, Possessed Villager, Argent Squire, and Abusive Sergeant. This is going to be a strong first couple of games for the Zoo deck. Now, JustSaiyan might actually be able to prove here why this deck is so strong, as even though he's played Wild Growth this turn, he could have actually played Enchanted Raven and also Mark of Yesaraj too, but instead, it looks like he's keeping his deck a little bit quiet. Like with Gara's game, he's not actually revealed his hand just yet, so SilverName probably assumes he's against just another normal Druid, another normal Yogg Token Druid type deck, but it's difficult to tell whether SilverName thinking that will actually lead to Saiyan having an advantage or not. Looks like we're going to see the Curator this turn, probably with an Enchanted Raven as well. And the fact that Curator has Taunt really does become relevant here. If SilverName had Power Overwhelming in his hand, this would be pretty bad for Saiyan. But luckily, it doesn't look like SilverName is going to be able to deal with this efficiently. Abusive Sergeant will help, but it's not quite as powerful as Power Overwhelming. SilverName is thinking really hard here about whether he wants to play the Imp Gang Boss with the Abusive Sergeant to deal with Curator, clear the whole board and then establish that, or whether he actually wants to start drawing more cards. The problem with SilverName's aggressive start is that everything is so cheap, which means he's going to run out of resources eventually, though that is an area where Zoo decks don't tend to worry too much due to life tamp. He's now seen he's against an also aggressive deck in the Beast Druid, and he might be thinking that if he runs out of steam, the Druid may be able to use high-value cards, high-value removal like Swipe, to clear the board and then just come back in an even more aggressive way.
Join the pack.
Unfortunately for Saiyan, having to use Menagerie Warden to duplicate Enchanted Raven probably isn't exactly what he'd planned for. He'd probably like to see Druid of the Saber, Stranglethorn Tiger, or Druid of the Claw, or a card like that get multiplied. But still, against a Zoo deck, at least that's one extra threat, or two extra threats, I suppose, that does have to be dealt with. And SilverName is still neglecting to draw into Power Overwhelming. Direwolf Alpha is definitely going to be helpful for him, though. But due to Possessed Villager being positioned right in the middle, he's going to struggle to make best use out of this Direwolf. This may actually be a situation where SilverName's unfortunate positioning is not allowing him to make the best possible play. Regardless, SilverName still very nicely able to clear the board while leaving himself with 5 minions. Saiyan is going to have to really pull something out of the bag to deal with this board. A swipe at that moment in time would have been very helpful. Innovate is not so bad, but really, JustSaiyan needed to be able to play Azurdrake and swipe here and now. Is Violet Teacher actually going to be helpful, or are we at the point where SilverName is just going to start to ignore it and go face? We're sort of at the point now where JustSaiyan could draw into swipe and actually be able to start to make a comeback as a result, whether he was to play swipe with Violet Teacher or whether he was to play Stranglethorn Tiger, Mark of Yesaraj and swipe. But of course he does need to draw the swipe for that to work. That Innovate though, usually at this point in the game Innovate is somewhat useless, but because Saiyan's hand is so big, that Innovate could actually be the difference between Saiyan making an okay play and one that can actually bring him back. He's actually gonna draw last because it's the way that he develops the best possible board with the most possible tokens. And if SilverName isn't able to win the game this turn, he may actually start to be afraid of Savage Roar. But that Forbidden Ritual is pretty strong with Knife Juggler, though he doesn't have that much space on the board to play the combo. He's gonna just play it for... It looks like he has to just play it for 2 tokens, or not play it at all. Peddler gives SilverName the Flame Imp, allowing for an extra knife that didn't quite go where it looked like SilverName wanted it. Whether SilverName is actually going to deal with this Violet Teacher or not is yet to be seen. It looks like he's ignoring it and going face, like I said earlier. Though Druid of the Claw might actually be one of these few cards that allows JustSaiyan to come back. By putting up a taunt, he's essentially making SilverName's plays of just going face before a little bit of a mistake. The Living Roots nicely deals with the Knife Juggler there. Wrath is going to deal with the Flame Imp. Druid of the Claw is going to put up a taunt protecting his face and protecting his minions. And then Stranglethorn Tiger is actually looking like it might be a 7-attack beatstick here. If SilverName doesn't draw something drastic soon... then it looks like Saiyan is going to have taken this back. Yeah, I can't see at the moment a way that SilverName does enough to the board to prevent this damage. Knife Juggler could help, but I don't think it's going to be quite good enough. Even if SilverName leaves only Stranglethorn Tiger alive, the Tiger plus Hero Power is going to finish off SilverName. SilverName is getting pretty nervous, but he must see that this is not... Yep, okay, there's the conceit. Sorry, my apologize, the other way around. SilverName Shaman versus Saiyan's Druid. We're not going to see Crusher Shaman, that's for sure. Apologies for that. But this is definitely the final game. There's been a lot of debate recently as to whether or not the Beast Druid deck is actually good enough to see play, whether the combos you can get with Menagerie Warden are fast enough, and it seems like the ideal Beast Druid has a slightly slower curve than old style Beast Druid. And if that's the case, and the Druid decks are able to have enough other fast cards, like Violet Teacher, I suppose, then maybe it does have a shot in the competitive scene to compete with the other Yogstar decks. I think it's fair to say that SilverName's hand here, once again, is absolutely disgusting. Both Tunnel Trogs. We don't see a Totem Golem, though, and actually, if SilverName just plays one Tunnel Trog, we might see it dealt with Wrath. And then just the Enchanted Raven going face. Instead, SilverName decides to go with Finley first. I think he was probably hoping for the life tap there, but Ping is going to have to do. Life tap would have really allowed SilverName to develop speed, like you would with a Warlock deck. And allow you to play all of your cheap cards and keep restocking. Ping is okay as well, but not quite as powerful as Life Tap. JustSaiyan opting to actually build his mana up rather than dealing with one of the minions. This goes to show that Saiyan's Beast Druid deck is actually a little bit slower. If it was more aggressive, he wouldn't be running Wild Growth at all. He'd be just playing Wrath, or maybe even Wrath would be too slow compared to old Star Beast Druid decks. Okay, so it looks like SilverName has decided, yeah, the Beast Druid, it's not that aggressive. I'm gonna take the Face Mantle. It's my job to burst my opponent down. And it does leave Saiyan in a bit of a tough spot. Yeah, we'll probably see a swipe this turn. It's possible that the Trog will be dealt with, but there is no way that Saiyan can actually deal with this whole board. No matter what, that Finley and that Foul Spirit is surviving, and look, the Totem Golem comes up right off the top. Unfortunately, SilverName can't quite curve into Thing from Below due to the overload that it grants, but SilverName is able to pick up... Sorry, JustSaiyan is able to pick up a Nourish there. Which he's going to ramp with. Okay, so he wants to get out the early Elixir. He wants to be able to play Ancient of War with his hero power after that. So Saiyan is having to play a little bit more slowly than SilverName. But SilverName has very little that he can actually do right now in his hand. He can attack with Finley and Ping. Or he can... Or he could trade the Foul Spirit, although Finley and Ping seems okay. Abusive Sergeant then to deal 2 more damage. He really does need to start racing down the face if he wants any chance at winning this game anytime soon. And there's the play. SilverName is able to push forward another 7 damage, leaving Saiyan at just 13 health. Whereas Sam would have liked to play Anixia this turn, it looks likely that he's going to just play Ancient of War, or even Druid of the Claw now he's picked that up this turn. Though Ancient of War does seem significantly stronger. If he was afraid of Hex, then Druid of the Claw may have been a consideration, but Ancient of War comes down, and SilverName is going to struggle to deal with that a little bit. Lava Burst will come down. Allowing... Oh, it's not... Lava Burst is not going to come down. He's developing a board instead. Okay. So this is just going to get more and more difficult for SilverName over the next few turns as the slow Beast Druid deck is developing his own board. Yes, we will see Lightning Storm this turn, and if SilverName gets really lucky, he could potentially clear the board here. He just needs a couple of high rolls. He got all high rolls! The Flame Tongue Totem isn't even necessary here. That is incredibly lucky of SilverName, but, and of course this is a big but, Anixia is going to come down next turn. That being said, with Totem Golem going face here, that would put JustSaiyan at 8 health. If he's playing Anixia, he's not gaining any health. So the Violet Teacher trades with the Flame Tongue Totem, and SilverName's Lava Burst and Totem Golem is going to go face, meaning that he takes the game and, as a result, the series.